And I'm going to begin by taking a roll call for quorum. George Slama.
Here.
Melanie Barron.
Here.
Kathy Heislip.
Here.
Bob Kelly.
Here.
Bob Heislip.
Here.
And Sam Lawrence.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum present. I'm going to call our meeting to order, and I'm going to ask our moderator, Grace, to explain how the remote participation will work before proceeding. Grace?
Yes, Julie. As a precautionary measure to reduce the spread of the coronavirus, all town buildings are closed to the public, and the May 27th, 2021 Historical Commission meeting will be held by remote participation. My name is Grace Rogers, and I'm the Office Administrator for the Yarmouth Historical Commission. I'll be serving as moderator for this virtual meeting. Although no in-person attendance will be permitted, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings. Persons who would like to view or listen to this meeting will do so in progress by joining this virtual meeting or dialing into the number provided on the notice of meeting. We will also post a recording of this meeting on the Town of Yarmouth website as soon as we are able to. Please be patient as we work to overcome any and all technological challenges within the virtual meeting. For all meetings, to reduce the confusion during the meeting, all audience participants of the virtual meeting enter the meeting muted. Participants will be unmuted when called upon to speak by the chair or moderator. If you are not speaking, please mute yourself to avoid unnecessary background noise. All votes must be roll call votes. After a motion is made and there is a second, the chair will ask for a roll call vote. For applicants and presenters, applicant presenters will be made temporary panelists in order to share their screens while giving their presentation. All presenters and speakers need to identify themselves by first, last name, and affiliation when speaking. Non-presenting applicants can use the raise hand button or press *9 on their phone to identify themselves to the chair. The moderator will unmute applicants when they are called upon to speak. For public participation, comments or questions from the public will be taken at the discretion of the chair. Members of the public may speak by selecting the raise hand button and waiting for the chair to call upon them to speak. If you are dialed into the number provided, you can press *9 on your phone to indicate that you would like to comment. Members of the public recognized by the chair are asked to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation for the public record, and then provide their comment each and every time that they speak. I will now hand the meeting back to the chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Grace. Okay, so we are here today to discuss the revised elevations of 115 River Street. And I do believe we've got the builder and the homeowner. We can let them in.
Julie, point of order
Yes, go ahead, George.
before we bring in the participants.
Right.
I'd sent an email this morning. I'm not sure if everybody received it. It's a summary of the points that Sarah made last October relative to 115.
Okay.
And listing the features, my suggestion is that we use this as a talking point checklist item so that things are in our forefront.
Okay. Let me grab that quick. All right, I'm just printing it out. Thanks, George. I didn't have a chance to see that this morning.
Yeah, sorry, it was last minute.
All right, very good. I got it. Okay, so did everybody receive the, thank you, Mockabee? Yep, thank you. Sorry, payroll getting dropped off. All right, did everybody get the packet for today's meeting with the revised elevations?
Yes.
Okay. All right, does anybody have questions, anything they would like to start with? I'm just gonna look at George's email really quick because I haven't had a chance to read it.
Julie, Bob has a hand.
Bob, go ahead, thank you.
My question initially is the structure at the very top that's new. What is that?
Structure at the very top?
Yeah,
I believe it's the garage that we can see from the left side elevation.
Is that what you're talking about?
This is the drawing that, um, okay,
Yes.
that's the
Now-
garage, that's the garage elevation.
Yeah, that's the in the lower left-hand corner, that is the garage. That is an addition. There was a shed roof structure that you can see if you go back to the existing conditions, which is literally falling down almost. We would like to demolish that and put a single car garage in its place.
Mhm.
To the second, extended the dormer based on our conversation that we had with the committee. This was quite a while ago now, but based on that conversation, we were told to use the same type of windows. We used the casements. We extended the dormer over a little bit so that we could get enough room in there to actually have a bedroom in there. It's pretty tight up there. Kept the porch, went back to the original window configurations that we had with the double hung windows down below. We got rid of the sliders, French doors. There is a little different window configuration in the kitchen area. If you look at the side elevation there, that one on the bottom. And we retained the dormer above that. It is being rebuilt, but that is, we try to design that in a way that it looked very similar to what is there, but expanded it so that it has enough headroom and code space to meet code, so we can get code windows. We actually had to put special French style casement windows in there in order for those to meet code for egress in those bedrooms. Otherwise, they don't have large enough openings. So in order to keep the look of the house as closely as we can with those windows, we did use the casements, but they open the two windows open together so that there's a large opening in the middle. I don't know.
Sam,
We retained the chimneys. Also, I know one of the points was on the last time we had presented something, we had taken one of the chimneys off on this of the house on the right-hand side as you face the front. The left-hand side as you face the front elevation, and we did replace that, and we plan on either trying to preserve the chimneys or rebuilding new brick chimneys to keep with the same look. The house is being elevated because it is in the floodplain and it has to go on a new foundation. So the house will be raised up. That's why there's additional steps up to the porch. The porch is the same size. We basically kept the same footprint of the house. We touched very little on the main body of the house on the right-hand side. If you go to the right-hand side elevation, we expanded the dormers on the back side. There were two small dormers. We expanded that enough to get a bedroom. And we feel that, we understand that this is a historic home, but all homes, as you can see throughout the town, the older homes evolve over a period of time as needs change and as families change and so forth. So we've tried to retain the character of the house where we made additions to it. And the main street view is very similar to what is there now.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Sam, go ahead.
I was looking at these plans in pretty good detail last night. The only two things that really jump out at me that, and this is mainly looking from the front view, is the garage roof line. I understand is in the same level as the original house, but it can be seen from the front view. Is it possible to lower that to meet the roof line of the side L
Um,
so that you don't
Well, we-
see the garage roof line from looking at the front of the house?
we could shed that roof back to a gable that would hide behind that. We would like to be able to keep that room up there if we can in some form. But we could pull that, I could look at pulling that back.
Just dropping it down so that it's the same height as the side L, in my view, would be a nice view from the front. So you're looking at the original form of the house and you don't see a protruding roof in the back. And the same thing goes for on the side where the garage, it looks like it sticks out maybe a foot from the side. Just push that back in to meet the new side of the kitchen.
Okay.
Those were the two outstanding comments that I had, just looking from the front view. If the garage roof line was dropped down and the side of the garage met with the same as the side of the house, I would be very happy with these plans. The other question that I had that you brought up is about the chimneys. This is just a more of a curiosity. Are you planning to actually install functional chimneys inside the house or just the decorative tops?
No, these would be actual, they would be actual brick chimneys or brick face chimneys with real, either shaved brick or real brick. But unfortunately, the floor plan inside doesn't allow the chimneys to go below the attic space. So we would retain the same look from this, from the exterior, trying to preserve that look, but they would not be functional.
No, it doesn't draw away from it. It was just a curiosity that I did not understand in your description.
Okay. I'm curious about the garage, to go back to that for a moment. One of the things in breaking the face of that, if we could go to that other elevation there. I mean, I could pull the garage back even with the, I was looking at that now. I was just hoping for even just so even as much as a foot, just to break that plane so it doesn't have kind of like a freight train look to it, where it's so just a long elevation without any break in that. Okay. I mean, if we lower the roof line, that would kind of meld in with the rest of the house, so that wouldn't be. And again, that's quite a ways back from the street. That's probably 35 or 40 feet back where the garage begins. At least that far, about 40 feet, I think. So it's not a predominant feature. In an elevation, it always looks flat, like it's right in your face. But if you're standing on the street, I doubt you'd even see the top of that roof, but we can lower that.
Just enough so that you don't necessarily see it from the street, just so that it's not detracting from the look of the main house is my biggest concern.
Okay, we can do that.
That was also a concern that I had when I saw it as well, Sam. That just looked like a very large piece on there, and with the roof line going, nearly the full length of the back of the house like that, and it seems quite visible. From the side elevation, it's clearly taller than the rest, and it just seems slightly out of place from the original structure. So, and also you can slightly see it from the front as it sticks out a bit. So I also agree with Sam. George, I saw your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, and just to reinforce your comments and Sam's is it's an important consideration in Sarah Korjoff's letter talking about the rear additions. And in her letter, she said changes to the rear additions would unlikely affect the building's National Register status, as long as the new additions were stepped back from the corner of the historic massing and did not overwhelm the historic structure in height and scale. So, so the points are well taken, and they're backed up from that letter.
I'm sure we can address that. I'm sure we can address that. We will address that. I understand.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly right. Melanie, go ahead.
I don't understand the totally. Is the agreement to just push it back or also lower the roof so that you might lose that room?
Well, I think we can modify it. We'll push it back, and we're going to lower it. And I'm going to look at seeing if there's a way that I can design the roof so that we don't lose. We may get less of a room up there, but I understand, and I can see the line that it is visible on the elevation, obviously, because the roof is going that entire distance, and it is in the back. And from a perspective view from the street, I doubt you would see much of it, but I do understand the committee's concern, and we'll address it. We'll drop that down so that it's below the level of the rest of the roof.
Okay. Great. Bob, Kelly, go ahead.
Hey, hey, Gordon. I'm curious, how tall is the ceiling in the garage?
The garage itself,
Yeah.
we've got 10 feet
Okay, so you could
from the slab.
you could actually cut that a foot, and then it wouldn't affect the bedroom up top so much.
Yeah, we could step that down. We could actually make that a step down into that space in the garage and still have enough room, lower the roof, step it back. And I think actually, if we look at the other elevation, in the back, it's pretty flat across there. The back side of the garage could step out and break that plane, which I think would look nicer rather than just that flat across there. And we can push that back so we won't lose the space, but we'll lose that look that you find objectionable. So I think we can address that and lower that down.
Thank you.
We'll find a way to do it.
Does anybody on the commission, have they looked around all 4 side elevations to look at like window placements and doors? And does anybody have any comments or issues with anything of that nature where they placed things? Some of it is the same as original, some is slightly different. I noticed on the left side, I think that must be the kitchen that you're talking about. There originally, I think there were just 2 doors, and now there's a panel of those 5 windows across, and the 1 door. Yep, that one. I don't know how architecturally, I don't know if this is like makes sense for the style or whatever. Maybe Bob or Grace could input anything on any of the changes in the window placements, making sure those are accurate or conforming.
I've seen a bank of windows like that, but usually it's on a porch. I don't know. I've just
That is in the dining area, and that's why we put the windows in that fashion there, because it is kind of porch-like in its placement there, but they do get a little bit of a view from that angle. Towards, I think they get it in between some trees looking at the river, but and it faces south. We were trying to get some light in there and open the house up a little bit. And again, I guess I go back to the part where the houses, evolve through time, and we try to, be sympathetic to the architecture that's there now. And I know I've seen a lot of older homes with stacked windows like that, but it does give it a, kind of that treatment like in a porch.
Sam, go ahead.
The only question that I have regarding windows is, I believe the letter from the Cape Cod Commission specifies that the windows on the front have to remain in kind with the tradition of the house. I'm wondering if that applies to the sides as well, because as you're driving down the street, you do see both sides of the house. I'm not sure if that's clearly apparent in her letter, but something that I would like to see would be the windows done in the same fashion as the front on both the north facing side and the south facing side. The back doesn't matter as much because nobody sees that other than the owners or somebody living behind the house.
Can we go back to can you scroll back to the existing house on the side elevation there? Let's take a look at that. Yeah, this one right here. Yeah. Currently, there's like that shed that we were removing. If you look up top, we did treat it with the casement windows. Again, they had to be a little bit larger to meet egress. And we did the dormer. We did the same step down. The only thing that we changed on this, where it stepped over, was the only thing. We did add a couple of windows, but we kept the door and we added one window on that step in, and then there's also one or two on the side. But we kept them the same type of windows, and we did add more windows in that kitchen area. There were two doors there before, kind of randomly placed. They're not even the same size, but that's what's there. And so we felt we kind of cleaned it up by just adding a bank of windows there. So if we put the door back, it wouldn't serve at all the space that is there now at the dining room. It would be rather dark in the kitchen. So we were hoping we could separate the windows if you think that would be more in keeping with the rest of the house.
Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. They would not, in the older days, have built a bank like that. Was in your design, is that designed to be one window?
No, they're separated by there's 3 inches. They're all separate windows, 3-inch malls, and they're not factory malls. They're actual separate window with stud pockets in between each one of them. They're trimmed together like it's one large window, but it's all trimmed together with trim in between, not a factory mall kind of thing. So they're individual windows.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I can separate them with a little bit of shingles in between them. That would give them more of a kind of like the windows to the right of them. But
It would be more defined, I think. I just have a question on if we can go to the front view.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. You said you're using casement windows?
Yeah, the windows at the top, those are casement windows. I think the line weights, those are two pairs that open like French windows. They're a little bit taller than the windows that are on the side currently. And those are too small to make egress. What we do have the two windows in the front in those bedrooms that meet the code requirements. The master bedroom that's has the new casement windows. Those are two pairs of casements. So I know it doesn't, sometimes the line weights, if they get too close together, reads a little differently. Those aren't two large windows. There's actually two pairs of casements in each one of those. Very similar to what was done in the original. I can define that more when I make the corrections to the drawings and lower the roof so that it reads as actual. You'll see that it is the casements. I know it looks like two large windows now.
Oh, you're talking about the extension to the left, right?
That is correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, I will change that so that reads like the separate windows. If you look on the other ones, they look like separate casements. For some reason, I'm not sure why they're they're not defined with a line in the middle of them that make them look like casements. But
Right.
I'll take care of that in the drawing.
So those crank open.
That is correct. Yeah.
And so
But-
you have the screen on the inside.
Yeah, those windows when they crank open, the difference between those windows and some of the traditional casements, although the windows that are actually in the house now do open, I believe they do open out so that they're a pair, and they open out the way these will. So they're like a French window. There's no mutton bar in the middle when they open. You know how casements usually have there's like a bar between them.
Yeah.
Like they're like individual windows. These won't be that way. These will actually open so that they get a full opening like the casement windows that are in there.
So it's the same windows are on the side elevation as the front elevation. So.
Yes, yes, they're the same type of windows. But I apologize if they don't read properly, but I'll fix that. They look like that dark line in the middle makes it look like they're two large windows, and that's just not the case. There's actually a double casement, then a row of shingles in the middle, and another pair of double casements.
Okay.
So we'll take care of that when we make the other adjustments to it.
Grace?
Gordon, just for my regulatory knowledge, what is the dimensions of those windows that you're putting in to meet the minimum opening area for emergency escape?
Oh, Grace, you would ask me that. I don't have a scale. I'm in a, I hate to say that, I'm heading back up from Florida and I'm in a truck stop. So I don't have my scale with me. I have a copy of the drawings here. I can get that information to you. They are, two CW 126. I'll have to get that to you.
Okay.
I'll get you, yeah, but I'll get you all those. The window sizes are actually on the drawings. But the copy that I have is very small and I can't read it. And I don't have my glasses right here. I apologize, I'm embarrassed here. I can't. Unless I've got it on the upper floor plan here.
We can get that too, Grace. Sam, go ahead.
I have two things that I want to say. One of them stretches back just a little bit and really isn't important for the rebuild, just offering some information. The two different doors that were on the kitchen area, this is more for directed towards the homeowners here. The one, if you're looking at the original, Grace, if you can scroll up. Yeah, the two windows on the south, the two doors on the south facing side, the smaller one that's towards the left-hand side was actually the maid's access door, because the maid quarters was the bedrooms directly above the kitchen. That door was, I believe, originally closed off to the rest of the house, and that was a private entrance for the maids. The door to the right was the owner's entrance into the kitchen.
And that would make sense because that's right by the staircase.
Yep, and I believe that's why the two different doors are different sizes. You would have a smaller one for the maids and a larger one for the homeowners. The other thing that that I noticed in your application for demolition, this is directed towards the Gaffrins, is you plan to tear down the sheds in the back of the property. Is that correct? Okay, then I misread that. One of the sheds that is in the back of the property that's separate from the house is actually the original pump house for the water for the house. So I misinterpreted that part. So I apologize.
Okay, thank you, Sam. George, go ahead.
Given all of the discussion on the side L, I think it's important again to revisit what Sarah said in a letter about the side L, and which was because the side L is believed to be part of the original construction and is an important part of the building's character, exterior changes would likely threaten the building's National Register status. So I think, clearly, from our standpoint, it's important that we look at all of the proposed changes to be consistent with what Sarah's concerns were.
Perfect. Thank you, George. I also agree. So let me just say this, if anyone has any issue, they can go whatever, say whatever. I think what we need really is for Gordon to make the adjustments that we've just talked about with the roof line of the garage portion and setting that back.
Please drive the highlighted road.
And separating the window possibly there on the kitchen area and making the ones on the front appear more separated so we can see it. And perhaps bringing those back to us so we can have another go at it and see if we feel that that satisfies the Cape Cod Commission's notes before we make any determinations. Anyone? Anything? Is that good?
So,
Is it ready?
could I ask?
Yes, go ahead. Yep, go ahead, Gordon.
So if we could just run down a list of the changes, or I can run down, see if I understand them correctly.
Yep.
We're going to lower the roof of the room over the garage, step that back. Would we be able to just break that plane as long as it doesn't stick out? I think the this how much I can bring that back. Yes, if I bring it back, no, it's still going to end up. I think it will end up flush with it. The only thing I mean, but if it does come down, if the roof line does come down below that, I mean, it doesn't have to. It can be flush with that. I guess if that's the committee's wishes, we can do that. So I guess, is that the consensus that you'd like to see that come back flush with the rest of the,
yes,
the left side of the building?
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll drop the roof line down. We'll find a way to make that look more appropriate for the rest of the structure. We'll separate the windows in the dining room area with some shingles in between them. I'll give the definition to the casement windows so that they read as separated casement windows. I'm trying to think what else we had here.
think that was it, but correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that was it. I actually had one other question maybe for Bob. By separating the windows there on that left side and making them match more to like the front, would that possibly like eliminate one of the windows, like separating them? Like, do you know what I'm trying to say, Bob?
I was actually going to suggest that. That's what
Okay.
my hand was up. What would it look like? I mean, it would look a little odd trying to make a little separation between 5 windows as opposed to a more appealing looking separation between 4 windows.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I think we can, if you look at the windows on the side on the porch,
Yeah.
I think
Just like-
that's what we're gonna try to do is
Yeah.
separate them so that they match that separation.
Yeah, that would look a lot better, Gordon.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll do that.
Yep, Sam, go ahead.
The only comment I wanted to make is overall, I'm relatively pleased with the direction this is going, and wanted to thank Gordon and the Gaffrons for kind of working with us and following our suggestions as closely as they have to lead to this point.
Well, I appreciate it. I think I know we walk a fine line with this. We're trying to get, preserve the house for future generations, preserve the setting and everything, but also give them a house that will meet the current needs, in this era. So I think these compromises will do that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, we appreciate all the time that you and the Goffrins have taken to work with us back and forth with this one. It's I feel like it's an important house, and we want it to be saved. And I know you guys are interested in doing it right too, so we appreciate that. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought that what you scaled back on the front looks good as compared to the last time. So that was that's a good move. And an overall statement. I am shocked that that this is considered a flood zone because it is the highest elevation that is near the mouth of the river. It is the highest elevation, and I don't believe this area has ever flooded. I'm just very surprised by that. So.
Well, we could get the information. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was shocked too because I never figured that. But the river, it's 100-year floodplain, and probably in our lifetimes this has never flooded. But the river does get up high sometimes. I guess it's based on a worst case scenario.
Yeah, the knoll that section of River Street is on is quite high.
I know.
And
I know. There's a high bank there.
Yeah, so I'm that.
But
I was
they had
just
elevation,
curious.
I believe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It was just curious to me. That's all.
Yeah, I believe the house next door had to be elevated too. If you look at the house next door, to the right, that has been elevated. I know it's curious because it seems like that's one of the higher areas along the bank, and you would never think that would be considered flood. That's the information we have. I'll double check that. As far as I know, that is the situation.
Thank you.
Grace?
Thank you, Julie. Just to add some context, because I think that's important here for the reasoning of why the roof line would have to come down and the different orientations of the side windows is just because, just for the public record, that this is a Greek Revival house and has been inventoried as such. And so doing and such would maintain the status on the National Register. So I just wanted that to be noted. And then for my second question for Gordon is if this project has gone before or informally reviewed with the Conservation Commission, because I would hate that we make all of these plans, and the Conservation Commission has different standards to be applied to. So I just want to be proactive in that case, because I would hate to make this longer than need be.
Yeah, to my knowledge, it hasn't, unless the Gograns know more information on that. But it is on the other side. There's a road between the house and the river. I'd have to check the setback from the. It is within the 200. I believe it's within the 200-foot zone of the river, so it does fall within that. But we're not changing the footprint.
Okay.
Except for the bank, which I believe is out of that footprint, which is out of that. But I'll double check on that.
The flood zone would also trigger conservation as well.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Sam?
We
I just
thought this
want to
was our
offer a story about flooding. As many of the commission members know, and as the Gaffrons know, my family has had long connections to this house going back to the 1890s. My grandfather on my father's side was actually here at the property during the hurricane of 44. And he's since passed away, but I remember him telling me there was water all around the house to probably about 6 to 8 inches, but it never entered inside the house.
Wow. Well,
So,
I guess the water does go up that high.
but that was that, and my grandfather spent so much time on this property and other family. That is the only time that I have ever heard of water coming over River Street.
I'm surprised.
I wonder about the hurricane of 38. Wasn't that the big one when houses were washed up on Route 28?
The hurricane of 44 hit the Cape, I believe, harder than the hurricane of 38. I think the 38 hurricane hit more of the New Bedford area. The stories that I've heard is the eye of the storm for the hurricane of 44 went right up Bass River. But
Wow.
you have to look at the meteorologist charts and any of that to confirm that. But there was a lot of damage from the hurricane of 44 and a significant storm surge. But obviously the basement, the Cape Cod cellar, and the foundation for the house would have flooded with that. But there was never any water entrance over the thresholds and into the house.
Well, that's. But because I think it came that high within that 100-year mark, I think that's why it is considered, in that floodplain. But I'll double check that so that we have that.
Great.
I don't have the flood elevation on our current elevations.
George?
Grace, could you give us a little context going back to Sarah's comments that any changes on the L, exterior changes, what would they mean? What level of changes would likely threaten the building's National Register status?
Good question, George. So when evaluating historic structures, the first thing that you would want to look at is the architectural style of which is Greek Revival. That means that there are character defining features. Every architecture type has that. In this case, for the side L, that was, as it has been noted, I believe, to be within the evolution of the building, but yet still important. Side porches like this were common for the Greek Revival style between 1825 and 1860, give or take a few years, of course, for the vernacular. For this, she clearly noted within the letter that the side L, replacing them with new construction that has a higher roof line and several rooftop elements which extend well above the original structure's highest point. Because the side L is believed to be part of the original construction and is an important part of the building's exterior changes would likely threaten the building's National Register status. Extending the roof height of the side L would destroy original roof forms and materials and would change the relationship between the main massing and the side L. That is what she noted. So her notes for the side L are more on a constructural standpoint. When regards to some of the ones that we've had today, they're more of a Greek revival style commentary that we've had.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think, Gordon, I think you have all the correct notes that we have come up with today. So can we make a motion that we will revisit this property once we have revised plans from Gordon, and we'll set another meeting to discuss it as we did today.
Seconded.
Okay,
All right, I'm going to roll call for approval. Melanie,
Yes,
Kathy,
Aye.
Bob Kelly,
Yes.
Bob Heislop,
Yes.
and Sam.
Yes,
Okay,
I was having trouble with my computer.
all right, so our motion has, Grace, go ahead.
Do you have audience members? I don't know if you wanted to ask for public comment for the opportunity.
Oh,
Should have done that for the vote, but I just stopped sharing my screen and saw.
all right. Does anybody else have any comments they'd like to bring today?
We do have a hand raised,
Okay, okay, I see it.
promoting them to panelists so they can
Okay,
speak.
yeah.
Yeah, this is John Lawrence, and I'm in a butter to the rear of the property. I just want to make sure that the historical nature of the house, you know, as Sam was talking about before, it's got a lot of historic value on the street, and wouldn't want to see that changed.
Okay, thank you. We will note that. Thank you for being here today. Does anybody else have anything else, last minute comments or anything? Gordon, conference, you guys good? Okay.
I'm all set.
Okay, perfect. All right, so our motion passed. We will have another meeting once we've received updated plans from Gordon, and we can adjourn our meeting. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. I do.
All right.
I always feel like that's a waste of time. Bye, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your comments.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
seconds. All right, Melanie,
aye.
Sam? Yep, and Bob. All right, Bob. Oh, other Bob already left. Okay, we're good. Adjourned. Thank you, guys. We'll see
Thanks, guys.
you
On the
June
10th.
10th.